Doot, doot,
All right, so I'm
doot,
not going to
doot,
light it now because you know we have a
doot,
shit ton of them.
doot, 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 doot. La da da. Okay, posting on Facebook. We are now. I am all set. Hello, I am John Johnson, and this is Creature from the Black Lagoon discussion 102. We did 101 previously. That happens every time. All right, so just to sum up for those who don't know what this is, I am making a film, I think, probably in 2016 or very late 2015, called House of Horrors, where I'm taking a bunch of the classic monsters and putting them all together in one movie and trying to bring the horror back to it, trying to make them scary. But I'm doing a lot of research in this because I want to, like, you know, kind of make a lot of Easter eggs in the film for previous adaptions before, as well as kind of base everything on the original art and see what everybody else did, so I'm not doing the same things. So we're going through each one of the monsters that I'm doing, and then after that, we're going to do versus movies, and then we're going to do monster mashup movies where there's like a bunch of them together. And so we originally had done Frankenstein, just the monster himself. Victor not being a part of my story, but more focused on the monster taking over for him. So we did that. And now we're on our second monster, the creature from the Black Lagoon. Which is the only copyrighted monster, so we're not doing him directly. The Amazon prehistoric monster. And as you can see, I've got this zit that just shows up perfectly every time I turn my head. It's called Stress. So yeah, we're taking questions from you guys. You can post in the comments of YouTube or on the Facebook link, and we will answer them live and discuss your ideas and thoughts as well. So that's the intro. I will go through. I have 10 movies that I watch on a schedule that's on a Facebook note on my page called House of Horrors Research, and it kind of lists the dates. And then there's 15 to 20 additional pieces of material that I use, whether it's comic books, short stories, radio dramas, any and everything I can get my hands on that isn't overdoing it or stuff I've seen so many times that I'm very familiar with it anyway. But I try to mix that in, web videos, kind of trying to take it all in, which is a lot of information. So far, I've watched 4 films. I watched the original Creature from the Black Lagoon, which by far out of the 4 films is the strongest. Second, I watched a movie called Creature from 2011. It had some good effects, but it was... Sadly, these swamp creature movies are not good, and I don't think they're aiming to be, because they don't have that kind of literary history that some of the other monsters have. So it's more just kind of shock value. It is cool to see how much Jaws, the entire franchise, kind of took from Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's pretty cool. Creature 2011 was it was just not a great film, but it had some good moments, I guess. It has a really interesting origin story. In The Creature in the Black Lagoon, the creature is a prehistoric monster that has not evolved. Like, it was evolving to become a man and just didn't. It's kind of stopped. And where every other marine creature grew legs and started walking, he grew legs but could not leave the water. And it did classify in the second film that he is holding his breath when he's above water. He can just do it for a very long time. But he has to breathe water to live. They did clarify that. The third film I watched was Swamp Thing, the DC action superhero, who was basically taken from Creature from the Black Lagoon. The whole concept, the idea. He had a different origin story, which was mixed in. He was working on it was a scientist that was working on an experiment, taking an animal cell and the nucleus being plant, merging it, and then it got hit on him and on a human, and it turned him into a plant animal humanoid that lives in the swamp. He does breathe air. The Creature 2011's origin story was it's an interesting one. Basically, there's this guy who lives out in the swamp with his sister. He's in love with his sister. He has sex with a lot with his sister. A crocodile comes and grabs his sister, takes his sister to his lair to eat her, and has already started. The guy finds the croc in the lair with the half-eaten sister, kills the croc, eats the crocodile, and then loses his mind and eats the sister and all the body parts around him. And because of his emotion and his loss, he turns into an amphibian monster because of his emotions. That's legitimately the story. And so he's a kind of an alligator man who has to eat people, and there's like a weird thing about trying to fall in love again. That seems to be an ongoing theme with these, including Swamp Thing, is that the creature is always very much in love or enamored with some girl. Like there's always a female that the creature is really after, whether it's to protect her like Swamp Thing or to try to mate so it can actually have a second. Because I think the Gill Man from the Creature from the Black Lagoon is a sole survivor. He is the only living creature that they know of, and so he's looking for a mate so that he can have more and continue breeding. And that seems to be the ongoing thing in the two movies of him I've watched so far. And then the Creature 2011, it was in love with, it was trying to find a love again, but at the same time eats its love. It was kind of complicated. Sid Haig was really, really good in it. Like actually like a really strong actor. He wasn't just thrown in. He actually did get some meat, and it was cool. No pun intended. Nah, fuck it, pun intended. So yeah, that's basically the 4 films. Oh well, now I just today watched Return of the Creature, or Revenge of the Creature, which is the first time I had ever seen that, and I believe it came out 1 year later after the first one, which was the 50s. Which I was actually always thought the Creature in the Black Lagoon was a 40s thing, like a late 40s. But it's 50s, and there's a lot of things with this movie and this adaptation. One, it's not the same story again. It's not a bunch of people who go to the lagoon and the creature just messes everybody up and kills them all throughout the movie and they defeat him. They actually send in a team to catch the creature at the beginning. They capture the creature. One of the coolest parts is actually it was the same captain who had been there the first time in the first film actually takes him out again, telling his story of the first film. And he was just a fun kind of, I'm not sure he's Spanish, but he does a really fun Spanish accent. So that was cool seeing that character again. I think he was the only returning character other than the creature, who was shot. And for some reason they're like, well, he's kind of alive. So you could tell that this movie was really thrown together to be put out very, very quickly. They used a lot of stock footage that they reused from the first film, and in fact used a lot of footage from the first film, and even up to the final shot of the creature's shot with his hand just kind of sinking in the water. I think it's the exact same shot. The first movie and the second movie end on the same shot, and it fades out. Which, if you look at Jaws, the fin going down in the water and the creature going down in the water, like there was so much influence from that, which I had never seen before, which was really cool to see that. It was made in 1955. A lot more wham bam stuff. Like they leave on a boat that's obviously called the Rita 2, but when they arrive at a port, it's called like the Postponed 3 or the something with a P. But it's a different boat. It has like a big blatant name change. So they capture the creature, they torture it for a while, they take it to an amusement park, which is kind of fun because Jaws 3 did the same thing, taking it into like a Sea World. and the creature from the Black Lagoon is taken to a SeaWorld. Then it escapes. It becomes superhuman in a weird way because there's a doctor or professor who says he's only there for 2 weeks and that he's only got 2 weeks to study the creature. And about a weekend, the creature escapes and goes into the ocean. It also kind of changes its strength around. Like there's this chain holding it. It's having the hardest time breaking this chain, but when it's out of water, it fucking throws a car. So, and when it's fighting people, it barely has the strength. It seems to be stronger when it's not in the water, which is weird. Because in the first one, it almost pulls the whole the boat under when they're trying to catch it with a net, which is really funny. For the second film, the captain's warning the guys, the scientists, not to go out there, and he says, you know, you don't want to do it. And it's like, well, we have something that they didn't have. It's like, what's that? And it's like, we have a net. So that's their big plan. It's just to capture it in a net. And then they bring dynamite and they explode the lake, and he floats to the top. Now, they didn't do a lot of science research because it's also very sexist, this second film. The first film, not as bad. But they really kind of talk down to this girl the whole movie. And then one of the guys actually says, laughingly, trying to compare science, where he says, ha ha ha, everyone knows that when you go to sleep, your brain stops working. He was a scientist. Science in the 50s. And oh yeah, so the creature escapes, and then they have these newspaper articles that that come at you, saying that the creature is spotted in Norfolk, Virginia. The story takes place in Florida and all the way down to Panama in the span of 3 days, because the scientist is still there and he's leaving at the end of his 2 weeks thing, and the creature had been all over the fucking East Coast and other countries, being hunted by naval officers and not being able to be killed. And then for some reason at the end of the film, he kidnaps the girl. He finally goes back. He's obsessed with the girl. He kidnaps her. He keeps leaving her on like the beach, and people find her, and then he kills them and then takes her back into the water. I don't know. I understand it happening like once, but it kept happening. And this really funny dialogue setup. The two boys who find the girl are talking about how really heavy life decisions. Like he's like, maybe I should go to college. Well, college is like the new high school degree. It's really the 50s, because in the 40s, a high school degree, you could get a good deal of jobs with that, because not a lot of people did go to college, and you didn't. I mean, I don't even think to be a police officer you had to have a college degree till in the 90s. I think the average job, you just didn't need it until the 50s, where that started to change, and they say that the college degree is the new high school degree. And they're actually having this really in-depth conversation about what he wants to do with his life. These two boys you've never seen. I mean, they're introduced in this dialogue. Then they see the girl, they walk over, and the creature kills them both. I like that a lot. I like the idea that there's, it really captures a moment in time of when the movie was made, and teens during that time, because these are the only young people that were seen in the film, where all the later Swamp movies are much younger cast, with the exception of Swamp Thing. So yeah, that's basically my take on it. It was very phoned in. I'm curious what the third one's like, because this is The Creature Walks Among Us, so I'm thinking they're changing up some of the story. I definitely think it was very the creature was enamored with this one girl, and it ran around obviously many countries in a couple days, and it didn't go after any other girl. It really specifically wanted this one girl, and I thought that was kind of unique and interesting. And they were giving it commands and electrocuting it, and the creature deserved to kill all of them for what they did. I mean, it was very... In the first film, the creature just walks up and kills a couple colored people or brown people just for shits and giggles, so he's kind of a bad guy. But in this one, they kidnap it, they electrocute it, they chain it to a floor. No wonder the damn thing is pissed off, and Universal has a way of taking these stories and making them very sympathetic. They definitely did it with Frankenstein's monster. But yeah, so that's my take on the 4 films so far. I probably won't go over these again because I think by the time we do the next show, I'm going to have watched 6 more movies. So I'm going to be going through all of those in the Black Lagoon 103, which is scheduled at the House of Horrors research file note in on my Facebook. So you can check out the dates there. All right. Well, now we're going to move on to some questions. And we've got some back questions from the last episode, some pre-questions that came yesterday, and then all the questions that you guys are doing live, which you can comment in the comments below on Facebook, on Facebook and on YouTube, and we're checking both right now. So, Alyssa.
Okay, ready. This is old business from the last show.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Huckingbush. Is the gill man the final evolutionary stage after mermen and mermaids?
It seems that way. I mean, yeah, it definitely feels that way. I mean, they say that he's 1,000 years old, which is weird because I don't know if the creature lived that long or if it's just reproducing somehow, but not mating with any other kind. It's very complicated when it comes to that, like where he is, if he is 1,000 years old, like he's a dinosaur, or if he's been reproducing asexually and he's just the latest one. But obviously he wants to produce sexually because he's constantly going after these girls. So I don't know. And the other thing too is that most mermen and merwomen are sea-based, so they're saltwater based, where he's not, which is really funny because they take him and throw him into saltwater with a bunch of sharks and he's breathing just fine. But they take him out of the freshwater, electrocute him, and throw him into seawater. 50s science. Yeah, so that's the best I got on that one.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Oh, sorry.
No, it was just.
I thought you were.
I was finishing up.
Signal.
I don't think he is. I think merman and merwomen might be different.
All right. Well, Kenneth Tabor commented to talk about Clint Eastwood's first movie role from last time when we discussed.
I saw that. I finally got to watch Revenge, and I saw a scene. He looked great. Like he was a good-looking young guy. Like kind of wild hair, which is really funny because his hair looks like what most common kids wear now, or at least in television. Kind of wild, jostled. Reminded me a lot of what Robert Downey Jr.'s hair looked like in his early movies. But you never see Clint Eastwood with just wild hair. He's usually really short or slicked. Never just kind of like, hey, I'm a young guy. And that was really cool. And he was very good. And you don't get to see Clint Eastwood like act too much in his movies either. He just kind of squints and shoots people. But in this, he was kind of like, hey, I'm a normal guy. I'd never seen Clint do that. He wasn't a tough guy. He was kind of a moron, I think, because he went to go feed the rats, and somehow one of the rats got into his pocket, and he finds the rat, and because he thinks the cat killed the rat, and he's like, wait, no, it's this. So I don't know how he mistaken the food for the. So yeah, I guess he doesn't comb his hair. When you comb your hair, you're smarter. I guess. But I saw it.
Well, oh crap! Now I lost the spit. Lost where I was.
We're lost.
No.
Lost.
No, I found it.
We found it.
Here it is. Buzz Keen sent in a crib sheet with an A to Z sea creature listing. So
okay.
Kind of cool if you look at that.
I did get to go look at that. If you guys get a chance, that's in the Facebook comments.
It is
in the Facebook comments of the last video. Buzz put in an A to Z. It's not every monster, but it's just one monster per letter. But it's kind of cool. There's so many Cthulhu. It goes into Lovecraftian stuff through Moby Dick. It has all kinds of stuff. It's really cool.
All right, then we go to Joey Hollywood. Now we're up to date.
All right, this is the ones from yesterday.
Yes.
Okay.
But we have lots to catch up on.
All right, we're going to get there.
Be expeditious.
Yes.
Have you read the script for John Carpenter's remake that was never made?
I have not. That was actually I actually saw your comment when I just checked to see if we had any comments. I really want to if you know where I can find that, if they ever released it. I'd be really curious what he was going to do. Do you know what decade he was going to do it in as well? I think that's pretty big. Was he going to do it in the 90s when he was like in his vampires, Ghost of Mars phase? Or was he going to do it in the 80s when he was in his The Thing and They Live with like kind of that action, little Big Trouble Little China phase? Or was it like the 70s when he was like really getting started in like The Fog and Halloween? Like what decade was the script written? Because I think that would be, it helped me visualize what he was originally intending. But no, I think it's awesome. I wish that movie happened.
Hey, Stephen Har, if Gilman ever decided to relocate and call Camp Crystal Lake his home, do you think our friend Jason Voorhees would mind much?
Well, probably not. Jason Voorhees only seems to care if you're fucking. If you're not fucking, unless you just walk into his path, because there is some guys who just happen upon Jason, and Jason happens upon all of the body parts. But yeah, I think the Gilman might not. Now, the Gilman might actually pick a fight with Jason just because he doesn't, kind of kills things sporadically. Doesn't really have a rhyme or reason to why he kills. He just kind of does. But yeah, I think that would be interesting, but Jason would probably win that fight, especially the undead version. Because he's kind of unstoppable, and the Gilman obviously is very stoppable. Like, they capture him constantly and they just torture him, and he's really strong, but so is Jason. So I want to give it to Jason in that fight.
Jason has weapons.
And Jason has weapons. Well, he's got his claws, but yeah.
Stephen Har has a part 2. And do you think he already did and was responsible for dragging young Jason underwater when he was a lad?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that's a cool idea.
Okay. Nigel Houseman, what do you think the average lifespan of the creature is?
Yeah, it's weird because I've only seen the first 2 movies, so I haven't seen the third one yet. So they call it prehistoric, but I don't know, they didn't explain it. So I don't know if he's like he's been in rock and the rock broke and he was kind of like thawed out, but he's not really he's in the Amazon. So I don't know if he's been bred or if he's really just that old. I mean, I'm leaning towards that he's just a very old creature that, like a turtle, but like on like adrenaline. That doesn't make any sense. A turtle that is like 8 turtles lifespans combined. No, let's see. No, yeah, 8 turtles, because turtles live like 200 years. So like a bunch of turtles.
Give it up.
A bunch of turtles actually like got turned into a sandwich and then ate the sandwich, and now he lives forever. I failed.
Okay. Michael Latoris.
Latoris.
I think it's a chick name.
Wait, her name is a girl named Michael? Clitoris? Is that what you're saying?
Michael Latoris.
His last name is
Litoris. So if you said that fast.
Oh, if you say it too fast.
I'm, like.
I got you.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
probably, you probably just insulted this man.
I'm sorry.
We're very sorry. She will be spanked later.
Is the Swamp Thing a vegetarian?
No, because it eats fish. It does not eat humans so far. Everyone that it's killed is just kind of left. But when they got it into the water park in the second film, they're feeding it fish. And it's eating them constantly. And they even drug it once because it eats the fish. That they've drugged fish. Which that fish had to be tripping when it actually got eaten. But no, in the first film I wouldn't have known, but the second film kind of clarified it does eat meat. But mostly sea. This is it. But yeah, mostly fish.
Hey, Henry Ty says, who has the worst fanboys?
Oh, I guess out of the monsters. You know what it is? I honestly think the worst it's actually girls for Dracula. I think out of all of because it's so misconstrued. Frankenstein fans are either fans of science or fans of the bride. They love the way the bride looks. Mummy fans are kind of into history. Creature from the Black Lagoon fans are just kind of like into those 50 B movies. Wolfman fans are, it's more just horror. It's very bloodlust horror. Jekyll and Hyde, kind of the same thing. It's all like kind of contemplative. But and Dracula, so far as vampires are concerned, but somewhere along the lines, Dracula got turned into a love story, which is not the novel. And I think the girls who swoon for Dracula are just very misled, unless they like him as a monster. But the Bram Stoker film turned him into this romantic hero, which made no sense. And I love the film, but it's that adaptation. So I would say, if I had to say the like when somebody says Dracula is the greatest love story, I just kind of throw up in my mouth, because I don't think that it's kind of upsetting that they don't know, because it's such a good story, but not a love story. But it's such a great story. But they're just misled. So there's that. So I would say it's the misled Dracula fans.
Okay, Stephen Hara says, what's it like to work with champions like John Angel and Matthew Ewald?
John Angel and Matthew Ewald. Well, wow. Okay, so they're both very interesting guys. They both have strong points, and they're really kind of, Matthew's great to work with. John Angel is actually very, very funny. He's very kind of quiet when you're around him, but then he'll put out these little videos, and there's just like, they're very funny. So he's kind of like a hidden talent. Like you wouldn't guess it, because he's not really like a comedian throwing out ideas, but then he just kind of goes to his workshop and then pumps out a video, and of like these Pee Wee Herman things that are just so ridiculous. And I believe there was like a video of a guy shitting on another guy for like an hour. it was like Axl Rose. And then Matthew, of course, is a seasoned actor who really, really puts a lot of work into what he does on any project, really. So they're both great guys to work with, because they bring such different and unique qualities to the project you're working on.
Okay, Bob Chambliss has sent you a link about an article about remakes that were never made, including John Carpenter's. So you can.
So this is really becoming a thing. I hope I can find it.
Yeah. Well, he sent the link. So
to the script or to an article?
It's an article. I didn't open it.
Oh, good. Yeah, don't.
I've got work to do.
Yeah, we got questions.
I know we got.
But no, I will go check that out, Bob. Thank you. But yeah, I'd like to get my hands on the script. Hopefully, they got like an audio version of it. That'd be awesome.
Okay, I'm going to go to the YouTube links now.
So these are live?
These are the live
questions.
We've got
we're caught up.
No, we're not. We got loads.
Oh.
We got loads of questions.
We're going to get to them. We're going to get there, man. We have the peanut gallery, too. So we'll do one of these, and we'll do one for the peanut gallery.
Okay, Tommy Jarvis says, are you a Trekkie, or is the Force strong within you?
Oh, I got shoes? Well, all right. So I love Star Wars because they're fun movies and they're characters that I adore, but I love the original cast of Star Trek so much. I'm actually late to the party. I'd only seen the movies when I was young. I didn't watch the show till more recently, and I have seen the whole show now. I like the episodic adventures of Star Trek, but the epicness of Star Wars. So I'm gonna go Star Wars, but there's a lot of love for Star Trek, if that makes any sense. Oh, and so now one from the peanut gallery. This is top of the list is Jared Kearney.
Do you think part of the appeal of the Creature from the Black Lagoon and Gilman and all that was that they sexualized the posters and they made them like with the maidens being carried by the creature with the breasts and all that? I think that was part of the appeal of it.
Yeah, I think so too. Definitely the time period of when they made the 50s was very much sex appeal, and yeah, there's always like a busty girl, and which carried over to all the other films. I mean, even Swamp Thing had like Adrienne Barbeau.
Barbeau.
who got naked in the movie and was a nice treat. I wasn't expecting that, and that was very nice. But yeah, so like, oh, and also just like a random happenstance. If you guys know old porn, there was an actress named Kay Parker. Does Kay Parker and Adrienne Barbeau, like, are they like the same person? Because they look so much alike. I don't know. It could be me.
Where's Dennis when you need him?
Dennis would know that. Dennis would know that. But yeah, so like Adrienne Barbeau, extremely beautiful woman. But yeah, she was busty and running around through the swamp. So I think more than any of the other ones, it's that kind of B movie, like Creature in the Black Lagoon versus all the other monsters and literary figures, is really in depth in the B movie horror world. Even like the films that are made now that are obviously not exactly ripoffs, because I'm going to do one. Well, might as well call a spade a spade. But yeah, so I mean, they're very much taken back by the B movie world and really focus and embrace it. So I would say the busty stuff definitely is something they were focused on. All right, so let's throw another question.
Questions? Okay. Hipster punks.
Okay.
Will Trancers Paradox be a sequel to the famous Trancers franchise? Will Jack Death be involved? And will it be a feature or a series?
Okay, so Trancers, for those who don't know, is a film series that was done by Full Moon. I believe it started in the 80s before Full Moon was Full Moon. I think they were called Empire at the time. And it carried over to the Full Moon, where they believe they have made 7 films, 1 short, 6 features, and a 2-shot comic book. Trancers Paradox is a pitch that we're giving to Charles to see if he will launch a 6-episode series, first episode being the pilot that we've shot. It does not directly link to Jack Death, but it definitely, it's in his world. So Trancers Paradox is which we are so close to being done with it and able to present it to Charles and see if he likes the show, or if he doesn't. But yeah, it's a series, and we've been shooting the pilot.
Okay, Steve-O the Devo. I just want to put it out there that I think Brandy Mason is extremely gorgeous and very talented, and you should cast her in all of your projects. Smiley face.
I pretty much do.
I think so.
I think Brandy's in pretty much everything I do in one way or another.
If not, she's on set.
Yeah, she's always around. I think it was a Steve-O the Devo?
Steve-O T Devo.
Steve-O T Devo. You're really going to want to see Trancers Paradox. There's a whole lot of Brandy in that movie, and she is really good in it. So you're going to want to see that.
Hey, Walter Walston. How is Skeleton Key 3 Part 2 coming along? You'd think I could say that.
I know. She was running Slate on Skeleton Key 3 Part 2, and she had the hardest time with, like, we're going to make a whole blooper reel. It was her saying, Skeleton Key 3 Part 8, 6, 7, clack. Damn it. She could not get the title at all. Yeah, it's basically done. It was difficult because obviously the Skeleton Key is a process because there's no script. It's just kind of an outline of what we're supposed to do. And once the project was done, I realized there was a bunch of things that I didn't wrap up because this is the last one to end the whole series. So we went back and did a bunch of pickups. But the film itself, I believe, is done. And hopefully it'll release in 2015, and we'll keep you posted on all of that as we go on. We're very excited.
Kamikaze Pilot, if you could remake The Dirty Dozen, who would you cast?
Oh, damn.
Yeah, right. That's a good one. That's fun.
That's a great, oh man. Who were the top ones was like Clint Eastwood, Donald Sutherland,
Charles Bronson,
Mr. Freeze looking guy, the bald guy with like the,
was that Otto Preminger? No.
I can't remember his name, but he was in Annie. I think. God, I could be wrong about that, and I'd feel really stupid. Wow, they're hard to replace. That's a hard thing to replace. It's kind of like, you know, Ocean's 11, which I think they did okay with. Those were fun. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in a lot of the main stars that are out now. I think television.
Ernest 49.
Ernest Borgnine. Oh no, wait. Is it? Oh, wait, Dirty Dozen was the World War II one, not, or is that the Western?
No, not a Western.
Yeah, that was the World War II one. There's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
one that has Ernest Borgnine as well. That's the Western with a big group of dudes getting gunned down. It has a really violent opening. I cannot remember the name of it now. Wow, no, I don't know. That's tough. That we could spend a whole show just on that comment. I like Colin Farrell a lot. I'd like to put him somewhere in there, maybe in Bronson's role. I do like him. And I would go more television actors actually. Like I'm not a big fan of Mad Men, but I really like, is it John Hamm?
Oh, I like him.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. He'd be a good Clint Eastwood, kind of the leader. Mad Men's an okay show, but I don't really get into it. But I really like that actor. And Hugh Laurie as Donald Pleasant's role would be fun. But anyways, that's a great question. That's an amazing question. But we'll be on that all night. I like to do that actually on long drives. I will. With the group in the car, we'll name an ensemble piece movie and recast it with Darkstone people just to kind of like get ideas and stuff. And it kind of gives me ideas because people will choose people for roles that I wouldn't originally think of them for. And so then I can when I think of casting them or writing them in something else, I'm like, oh, well, I never thought about that person as Wolverine. Maybe they could be tough. And then I put them in that role. So it's a fun game for us. But yes, though, thank you so much for the Dirty Dozen. I need to watch that again.
That is a good movie.
It's such a cool movie. All right.
Augustus Verducci. If budget wasn't a problem, what would be your ideal feature?
Oh man.
Yeah. Dirty Dozen remake.
No, there are two. This is kind of I would love to do a sequel to The Last Starfighter. The Last Starfighter and Remo Williams, The Adventure Continues, because the first movie was called The Adventure Begins, and it didn't go anywhere. But I loved Remo Williams. I would love to do The Last Starfighter and a sequel to Remo Williams. That would be the two amazing set projects. Well, there's so many. I mean, I'm doing House of Horrors, which is kind of like a dream project anyway. Kind of grew up on all these guys and to kind of play in their world with the mashups, which were the most fun for me anyway. So yeah, but I would say Last Starfighter would be an amazing film to do. The second to Last Starfighter, or I don't know. But that would be fun.
Hey, Kit Cranston, what era will your monster film be set?
Modern. It's modern day, and the monsters, some are immortal, some are immortal, and some will be remade. But I want to take it takes place now in this world, in this universe. So the Frankenstein's monster is well aware of the cereal box of Frankenberry. Like he knows. They all know about the pop culture references, which I think will be fun to kind of look back at that and kind of explain how that came to be. So yeah, definitely. It will visually remind you of previous films in previous decades, but it is modern day.
Puke Skywalker 100.
Okay.
When can we expect to see Plan 9 unleashed upon us?
Well, I believe it's releasing in 2015 in a lot of different countries, but they're all kind of being released at different times. So it depends on what country you're in. If you're US, we don't know. We don't have any release dates yet, but I think in the next month or two, we will start to release the release dates. We'll be like, okay, it's coming out in Australia on this day. It's coming out in India on this date. It's coming out in England this date, and hopefully eventually we'll know the US. They're about to let me know a lot of that information, which I don't know right now. But they're about to tell me. So I'm about to have so much information on Plan 9. But I definitely, 2015, it'll be out pretty much everywhere, I would imagine.
Hey, Captain Care Bear 1 has
Captain
two questions.
Care Bear 1.
I will combine.
Okay.
Practical effects or CGI, R rating or PG-13?
R rating, definitely. I'm making...
This is Darkstone.
Yeah, well, it's Darkstone. And also we're making the monsters really for adults. Where the whole thing is going to be very adult-oriented. And the first question, mostly practical effects. There might be a CG thing every once in a while, but very, very limited. There's no CG monsters. All the monsters are going to be practical for absolute certainty. But things like lightning and things like that could end up being CG, but that would be about it.
Kenneth Tabor, how many flicks have you seen for your research?
Well, for Frankenstein, I watched the 10 movies, and I had about 17, 18 additional pieces. Some of them were additional features that came across my board that I didn't know of when I chose my first 10, because I kind of limit myself to just 10 because there's so many of every monster. But for Lagoon, I've only seen 4 so far. By the next show, I will have seen all 10. And then the final Lagoon show will be that plus all the additional information. So I will be a scholar of the Lagoon, where now I feel pretty comfortable being a scholar of Frankenstein.
Bob Chambliss has a comment. Trying to find its love again, and at the same time, it eats its love. Sounds like an ex-girlfriend I know.
Oh,
Poor Bob.
Sorry to hear that. That's no good. Run, my friend, run. All right, so I'm gonna do one from the Peanut Gallery because I believe we've got another one. This is from Royce. Here we go.
As far as the depth of character of the Gill Man, would you be going towards any kind of love interest, or I guess deep backstory of the Gill Man? Was he human at one point in time, or was he born this creature? And if he was born this creature, would he be infatuated with any other character concerning the monster universe? Plan on.
Okay, so wow, that was actually the most straightforward Royce question ever. That's scary. Yes, I mean, the more I watch the movies, the more I realize how much the creature is very much obsessed with a female, and so I would be a fool not to work that in. The origin story of him, I don't know. I don't even know if I'll be able to get into it. I hope so. But obviously we can't do the creature from the Amazon, the prehistoric monster, because that is not, that's the only copyrighted material in the entire universe of these famous monsters. So I can't really get into that, but I will probably design my own origin idea. At the moment, I can say I'm leaning towards Lovecraftian. What do we got?
All right. Kenneth Tabor. What was with the guards looking like milkmen in Revenge of the Creature? LOL?
Oh yeah, it was the guys in white who like both immediately die. Like the creature just destroys these guys. I really feel like the second film was thrown together so quickly, where the first film was a little bit more stylized. The second film was very much like a in-your-face kind of crazy B movie, which I think some people might love just because of that fashion. But they definitely threw it all at you. And yeah, the Milkmen, you're right. Like they looked a little ridiculous, and I think they just didn't have the costumes. They were like, just throw those on and get them in the water, because maybe they had uniforms that they couldn't get wet. I don't know.
Hey, Stephen Har. Do gill women lay eggs or have natural childbirth or natural birth?
Well, yeah, I don't know, because it seems that so far as the creature from the Black Lagoon is concerned, there isn't a female. He's trying to find one and work his magic on the human species. He's definitely looking for love in all the wrong places.
Match.com.
He's but no, I don't know. I mean, if he is not 1,000 years old, then he was born asexually. So he was just an amoeba or something like that. But if he wasn't, I don't know. It's maybe the third film, which I've never seen, The Creature Walks Among Us. Maybe that'll give us some more information that I didn't have before.
Kenneth Tabor, do you think the inconsistencies in the movies is because there is no literary background, or just Hollywood in the 50s?
Yeah, I think it was Hollywood in the 50s, because the Frankenstein series has a lot of problems so far as the continuity is concerned between each film. And I think what it was is that there was no video. So like a Bride of Frankenstein comes out, you're like, you can't go watch Frankenstein. Frankenstein is gone. It was in the theater and then it left the theater. Like it was sitting on a shelf somewhere. So they expected people not to remember so much of the previous story because they're very loose on each other and things don't make sense. And each one's kind of its own thing that's supposed to be a sequel, but it's kind of not. So I think it was just they were just turning them out so quick and just didn't expect people to remember all the details of the previous film. I'm guessing that's what it was. It was just so fast and, gung-ho, where now you can, you're going to watch the new Alien, like they're putting out a new Aliens movie, you can go watch all the previous Aliens movies and know that information when you go to see this so that you would know like all the details, where back then you couldn't do the research, so they just expected you not to know. That's my guess.
Okay. Stephen Hart wants to know, when a gill man goes down on a gill woman, does it smell like fish?
I'm going to say yes, because he's a fish monster, so it's probably all fishy. I think we made a joke about that in the last episode, didn't we?
I think so.
I think we did.
I think we went there.
Yeah, I mean, fish vaginas is just too much fun. I mean, they invented fish tacos, and what gave them the idea.
Okay. All right, Stephen Hart.
Steven.
If Gilman had a VS movie outside of the classic horror villains, Dracula, etc., who would you like to see him go up against? Oh, versus.
A versus film?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think if I had to pick one, I would say the Wolfman. Because they're the two out of all the Universal famous monsters, they are beasts. Versus, vampires have the kind of intelligence to them once they're, creature. I would definitely say that the creature is probably smarter than the Wolfman. Once the Wolfman is the wolf, he's very much an animal, where the creature is an animal, but also, he's also a fish. So yeah, no, I think if I had to pick two, that would be interesting because they literally would just go at each other with not a lot of thoughts to get in the way. It would just be a big rumble, and one would be stronger. And you have the two grounds where, like, if they're in the water, obviously the creature's got the advantage. They're on the land, the Wolfman's probably got the advantage. But yeah, and they both kind of claw. They both have the kind of the same weapons. So yeah, that would be kind of fun. I might do that in my movie.
Kenneth Tabor, in other creature flicks like Humanoids from the Deep, they are also looking to breed to keep the species going. Will this be a drive for your version as well?
I don't know. I don't know how far I'm going to get into the creature. I know he's definitely in the movie, but I don't know. I haven't figured it all out yet. Once I have a better idea of what I'm going to do with the whole thing, I think I'll be able to answer that better. But right now, I definitely know that there will be an infatuation with a female because that seems to be the ongoing theme through all of these films. So more than any other kind of note. So I probably will be doing that. I know that. All right, we got another one from the Peanut Gallery. I think we're getting close to getting caught up with these guys. This is Jimmy Belcher in Atlanta, Georgia.
Keeping him confined to water, or is he ever drawn out onto dry land? And if so, how much of his power is lost once he's out of his element?
That's actually a good question because in the second film, he seemed to be stronger when he was out of land. He was just crushing people's heads and flipping cars. But when he was in water, he couldn't break the chain. But he's also extremely fast because he goes up and down the coast in days. So I don't know. I think I'll do both. We're going to spend more time with the creature in the water, I would imagine, because I think he's scarier that way. But I would be a fool not to have a full body of him walking up out of the water. I think you have to have that. All right, what do we got?
Oh, I was moving ahead a little bit.
She was shopping on eBay.
No, I wasn't. I was reading other comments. Let's see.
Yes.
Dirk. Kay Parker is not Adrian Barbeau.
Well, I knew they weren't the same person, but they just seemed so. the body type, but thank you. Who gave us that?
Find it, but that's what it is. I'm almost there.
Oh, she's getting close.
My thing it keeps moving around too much.
Technical issue.
Oh no, not the song now. I'm really nervous.
I'll do another one from the Peanut Gallery.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. We got Chris Duncan from Richmond, Virginia.
1. Was this inspired in any way by a certain toy that was brought to you for Christmas? 2. What the heck was Royce doing in his car? Was he detonating? Was he like undetonating a bomb? Was he trying to solve something? There's a beeping sound. I was very worried for his safety. And 3, I don't really have a third question. I'm just babbling at this point. But I like hearing my own voice on the radio.
Okay, all right. So number 1, in my house there is. I'll bring it for the final show. Duncan bought me a giant stuffed animal Gilman. And a lot of the boys knew I was going to do this for almost a year now. And so I've been getting a lot of Universal gifts, which have been amazing. We're just decorating a little house with them. But yeah, so he gave me that. That was really nice of him. 2, it definitely, most people don't know this, but Royce actually lives in Franklin County, which is where they originated 24 about Jack Bauer. And so Royce was actually on Jack Bauer's original team, which has a huge backstory. And I probably shouldn't say too much because I don't want to go the way of David Palmer. But I would definitely say watch 24 and look for the likenesses, because one of those characters is based off of Royce Hobson. So probably we were hearing something that we shouldn't have, but the world hasn't died, so we know Royce saved us. Have we found who told us about Kay Parker?
No,
and we have lost it forever.
I don't know what I did, but something happened. Wormhole.
Okay.
Kenneth Tabor in other creature flicks like Humanoids from the Deep. They are. Oh, wait, did that one? Oh, you know what? I opened another window. That's why it's not the same thing. Okay.
Mystery solved.
I know. Now I know what I did. Paul A. Presenza.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you mean Aboriginal fish, American from the daylight challenged open body of water free trade zone?
That seems like a reference that I don't know, and I feel foolish. What is your reference? Tell me what your reference is, and I will get it, and I will know it, and I will feel it in my soul. I think this is where I keep my soul. Sometimes it's here, right now.
That's another pocket.
Right here.
Jason Bennett, somewhere there was a literary work that was set in a world where the Gill Man wasn't a guy in a costume acting. He was a fish man in 50s Hollywood.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, in that story, have you read it? And if you have, like, where was he originated? Was he a prehistoric monster, or was he just born as a gill man, gill man, or a fish man?
Fish man. The other flip over here. Bob Chambliss. WRT, the Dirty Dozen comment. Lee Marvin was the actor in charge of the dozen. Clint Eastwood wasn't in that one.
Oh,
shit! You're thinking of Kelly's Heroes.
That's what. Yeah, that's with Donald. That's the one that Pleasance was in, and the guy from Kelly's Heroes. Oh crap! Dirty Dozen was the Western, right?
No. That was World.
What is the Western with Ernest Borgnine?
Well, Ernest Borgnine was in.
He was in that one. Yeah, he was in. Yeah. Okay, Bob. What was the Western that had Ernest Borgnine? And it wasn't called the Dirty Dozen, but it was something like that. There was like a group of them, and at the very beginning, there's a huge gunfight that's very, very violent, and was almost banned because of it, or rated X, I think, at the time. But help me with that one. But no, you're right. I was thinking of Kelly's Heroes. I got the two mixed up.
I think we're caught up for the moment.
All right, cool. So let's do another. We're almost done with the show anyway. It's almost done with the show. Yeah. All right, so we got one last one from Jimmy Belcher in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey man, great show so far. Just another quick question. Since it is set in modern times, Do you plan on maybe sprinkling in some of those pop culture references, like a moment where Frankenstein sees a box of Frankenberry, or maybe Gilman is aware of Swamp Thing existing, or is it going to be pretty straightforward, serious, not too many of the lighthearted, silly pop culture references?
No, well, kind of both. There's definitely going to be the pop culture references because that's part of the story that I'm designing. But it is going to be treated. It's not going to be too silly like fish out of water stuff. A lot of times, the monsters. Well, I think every time I've seen it, the monsters have been moved to modern day, and they're like, "What is all this stuff? Cereal?" Or like, what was it, Blade, where like Dracula was like walking around looking at the world. They're well aware of pop culture, and they're not surprised by it, but they will have a commentary about it that I'm still going to try to keep in. It might, it has a little humor to it, but it's not going to be Frankenstein staring at a mask of Frankenstein and going, "Face ugly." You know that reference? But I won't be doing that. But they are well aware of it, and I don't know if we can actually use like Frankenberry, but we might be able to make our own box of something, because I definitely want to approach the cereals in one way or another.
Kenneth Tabor, have you seen the Monster Squad?
Oh my God, yes.
If not, please add it to your queue. Also, who will be the antagonist for the creatures?
I'm thinking about a PI, a private investigator by the name of Jack Pierce, because Jack Pierce was the name of the guy who did most of the makeup effects in the Universal films, and I like that name. So I'm thinking private investigator Jack Pierce is the not the main character, but he's the way that the story is told through him. But we're probably going to spend a lot more time with the monsters than you normally would in those kind of films where they're actually leads themselves. And trying to keep them scary at the same time. So it's a tall order.
Oh, it was Kenneth Tabor who posted the
about the K. Parker. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you, Kenneth.
I found it. Now I found a whole bunch more questions too. All right.
Oh, I think I got another. Hang on. We got another peanut. We got another peanut. That was Jimmy Belcher again.
Well, now that all that's behind us, let the night-long thread of endless rape and debauchery begin.
Okay, yeah, we're not done yet. That was actually that just went live. So last time I started this thread for the first show of the Peanut Gallery, there was maybe 5-6 Voxes that we discussed. Voxer is the app that we use. There were 5 questions. Then the group of Darkstone spiraled into this crazy comical thing that went on for 3 days. I think it was like almost 400 Voxes total, because they're all over the place. We got guys in Baltimore and LA, like Atlanta, Richmond, and they're just all chiming in. And most of these guys hadn't talked to each other in a while. So there was a lot of Bill Cosby references. There was a lot of rape jokes, which are not funny because rape is bad, but there's a lot of them. And just literally our own circle of hell. Like when we get to hell, we'll have our own circle, mainly because of the conversation that went on those Voxes. And I'm guessing that they are going to start a new branch of horror that's going to be unleashed on my phone for in the morning. All right. So we have any more questions before we wrap up?
We got a bunch.
We got a bunch. All right.
We got a bunch. Rhonda Hicken. Johnny, would you ever make a vampire movie? And if you did, who would be the vampire? Would it be you?
Oh, well, I'm doing a show. We're going to start a show called Grave Bit that's going to be on the Spooky Tales network. That is going to be a vampire show, very much leaning towards the Peter Cushing Hammer films of the 70s and 60s. Very excited about that. I'm not going to say if I will be the vampire or the vampire hunter until the show comes out. It's supposed to be a surprise. But yes, we are definitely doing that, and I hope you enjoy the show.
And you have done vampire movies.
I have done a vampire. I did Alucard. And actually, I've had vampires in like Skeleton Key as well. I think they're in every version there's a vampire. You play a vampire. in the fourth one?
Vampire Queen.
Vampire Queen. So there's vampires in all 4 skeleton keys. Oh yeah, but I did Alucard, which was the complete telling of the novel Dracula. The original cut was 4 hours long. The one they released was about 2.5 hours. But I'm gonna see if I'm getting that 4.5 or 4-hour version out there eventually for you guys.
Okay, Jason Bennett, you're getting Kelly's Heroes mixed up with Dirty Dozen.
Thank you.
And then that Oslu guy who played the Mummy and the second and third Darkman film would do good filling in for Telly Savalas' shoes.
Oh sure, yeah, I see that.
Jason Bennett again. Remo Williams has plenty of written adventures to pick from, similar to Mac Bolan.
I'm not sure who Mac Bolan is, but no, yeah, definitely Remo Williams would be amazing.
Okay, so I wonder if this has to do with because then the comment with the Aboriginal Fish American Daylight Challenge of Bunch.
Oh yeah, what was that?
That was right after the Remo Williams, so maybe it has something to do with that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Jason Bennett, somewhere there was a literary. Oh wait, we just did that. All right, I think that's it.
All right, cool. That is our show. Thank you guys so much for chiming in. We're gonna be doing the 103 after I think I watched
Important news break.
Important news break.
Bob Shambliss, not sure if I should post here or YouTube, but the Western with Ernest Borgnine, you mean the Wild Bunch.
The Wild Bunch. Thank you. Oh, that was going to bug me all night. It was the Wild Bunch with Ernest Borgnine, but it was literally like, the Dirty Dozen ensemble kind of, but Western. That was a great movie. I need to watch all of those again. Kelly's Heroes, Dirty Dozen, and the Wild Bunch in one night. We have one more question that we're going to get in before we go.
All right, Kenneth Hayward, was the Western The Revengers gruesome for the dead?
It was not, but I've never heard of that. Send me a link. I want to. That sounds cool. But all right. So thank you guys so much for watching our show. And we're gonna have another discussion. I think almost a week. And we'll be posting and letting you guys, if you're in the Darkstone Entertainment Facebook group, you'll be able to check it all out. This is probably the easiest way to find the show. Or I've seen now that some people started subscribing on YouTube to the live, because the live thing is different from the D-Flix account. They're different. And people have been subscribing to this right here, which is a new channel. So even if you missed the show, you'll be able to watch it anytime, because they basically stay on the show or stay on the channel always. So, all right, cool. All right, thank you guys so much, and we will see you on the next one.